Hello. Oh, I just realized this number recording in my phone is 33, so that could be showing up for you. I am hearing, oh, interesting. For some reason, I usually link the number 33 to the idea of the Ascended Masters, so that could be also coming through. I have music on in the background. I'm not sure that you'll be able to hear it, but as soon as I push record, it went to commercial, like an advertisement on YouTube, and I did not have any commercials coming up or advertisements, and it's been on for a while. So that feels like a message in itself, although I'm not sure what it is, but for a very select few of you, maybe someone is in, I keep hearing the word advertisement. Maybe someone here is in advertising, or maybe you are looking into advertising for something that you offer. Now I'm seeing symbols. So yeah, I've been noticing like symbols around that look like light language that I draw, or that comes through, or that I see. So maybe you're noticing more like symbology in general. It doesn't have to be light language, but maybe you're just looking at things more symbolically, or looking up more deeper meanings of things, or it could be both, or one or the other. Yeah, because I'm seeing like someone looking at books, or Googling like hieroglyphics or alchemical symbols and their meanings, dream interpretations. I actually have a video on here that I believe I labeled alchemical symbols and dreams, so maybe you just like listen to that, or maybe you were drawn to that, or maybe there's a message in there for you. But or if it's not on my channel, maybe like you were just looking into and or having dreams about some sort of symbolism. Yeah. So I wanted to just sort of tune in and see what wanted to come through. I have some stuff written down, and the current astrology seems to be like, when I say astrology, like I'm hearing like astrology updates. Maybe someone here just like watched an astrology update or posted an astrology update. Maybe you're into that yourself. But I'm filming this the day after a full moon, which was last night. Obviously, if it's the day after, and I was noticing these like aftershocks of the word core belief is coming up. I was just talking about this with a friend. Like resurfacing, like things that perhaps, and I know this might come up every so often. My old mentor always used to say healing is nonlinear, and I love that because it's proven very true for me, at least, and a lot of people that I know and have worked with. Yeah, it just feels like this resurgence, like I said, like aftershocks, like when you have an earthquake, and you know, like in the epicenter of the earthquake is where generally most of the tectonic plate movement is occurring. And then after the earthquake, you can have these aftershocks where it's not quite as detrimental, but you still feel it. So it's sort of like that with, fill in the blank for you. And if you're not experiencing that, then you can just let that fly. Or maybe you know someone who is. But yeah, it just feels like, I know I've actually had some stuff come up for myself, and I've just noticed a lot of friends and family and people that I've been just speaking with, and I've been also feeling it energetically, that there's just these like resurgence this resurgence of, and I'm interrupting myself, but it feels like for those of us who have, looked into these aspects, like, core beliefs and something called that I one day asked, like when I was just starting to get into the idea of, going within and what we call channeling, although I don't know if I always will call it channeling, but just for sake of ease, I remember hearing the phrase in my head, unhealed filter. And that really, it stuck with me, and it really helped me because, when we identify or see these repeated actions from whatever, like an isolated core belief, if we can get into that like root, when we're making decisions from an unhealed filter, like I like to call it, it's like we filter everything through, how we perceive the world, of course. And so when we can sit with that, and if we want to make changes, it will completely, at some point, it will be different for everyone with timing, but your decisions will be different, most likely, if you are, able to identify, or at least add awareness to whatever core belief it is that's coming up into play. Like, for example, one of them could be like not feeling liked, or like always feeling like you just aren't accepted, or having like some sort of self-worth tied to whatever it is that you do, in terms of humanitarian work or your job or how you look. That seems to be a pretty I don't want to say the word common because that doesn't quite feel right, but I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I've noticed this coming up and being highlighted, and so I just kind of wanted to bring it up. And it's funny because I just realized I wrote down this dream that I had the other night, and it was with someone who I was in a very long cycle with years ago. And in the dream, I chose a different, this actually did happen, like it pretty much happened eventually. Like I chose to, I made a different decision with this person, and, it changed everything, and they're no longer in my life, mostly, in a good way, because, when I say in a good way, in the dream, it was very interesting because it was like I could have, it's funny, when I was talking about the symbols I was seeing, one of them I saw was like an X, but the lines are curvy. I'm sitting on a gray couch, and it looks like claw marks, but in the shape of an X, but they're like wavy lines, and one of the lines isn't quite completely long enough to make a full X, but it looks like an X, and I just accidentally touched it and made it an actual X. So I was gonna say like at a crossroads, and now I'm seeing Two of Swords and Tarot, right? So it's like a decision point. So this could be like a past experience, present, future, of like kind of zooming out and making a different decision, which will bring forth a different result. I know that sounds extremely oversimplified, but when you're in a cycle, sometimes it's hard to see that. And so this is either, again, highlighting something you've already done, and now you're starting to see like the cycle actually closing and new doors opening as a result. And if you're not quite there yet, this is, I think, just coming in as a, like, maybe a guidepost for you to, like, initiate that change, if that's something you're feeling called to do, Okay, so in the dream, I was working in some sort of like restaurant hospitality thing, so that could be relevant for someone. And when I when I wrote down the like main, I suppose, theme for what I wanted to like have as the, I don't know why the word platform is coming to mind for this video. I wrote down Heliotalic iridescent light streams. So Heliotalic, if you're not familiar, is essentially like the pastel shades of the rainbow spectrum. And I'm hearing a lot of beeping and a lot of horns. So if you hear that, I have the a sliding glass door open to let some natural air in. So yeah, maybe someone here just opened a window, or maybe like opening a window if you can, or getting a nice breeze around you might be very helpful. And I just heard that for someone, or if you did that, then yeah, I'm seeing that that's very necessary right now. I just like had a vision of someone like opening a window or a door, some sort of fresh air opening, and then like dust flying everywhere, like, and someone kind of like coughing. Of course, that can just be metaphorical. Yeah, and I just heard the song in my head from Eminem, cleaning out my closet. So, there's a dog next to me, and she's so cute. She just started stretching and moving around. Yeah, so maybe movement, stretching could be relevant for someone. I just heard Tai Chi, Qigong. I like to do something that I call flow ki or flow chi. I believe in Japanese, ki, ki, is, the Japanese word for, like, life force. And then I believe Chinese is chi, chi. So I say flow ki or chi, whatever I'm feeling. And really, it's just like an amalgamation of all of the different movement techniques that I've looked into, dabbled in, played with over the years, and then I just like let my body flow. Sometimes I'll do Kundalini practices. I really like them for me, and like I said, I'll kind of like dabble in, and then just like once my body knows it, I'll just kind of tune in and do that flow chi, flow ki. So maybe someone here has been playing with that idea, or maybe you're already doing that. If you are, I'm here and keep it up. It's really great for you. I just felt like a pain in my right, like the back of my, or the side of my rib, but more towards the back. Generally for me, that's like an empathic absorption, like you're holding, just external I heard the word crap. I didn't want to say that because I don't view it as crap, but I think it was just to bring some light, because the energy is feeling a little bit heavy. Yeah, in the last couple of days, I've just been feeling so heavy. Like no matter what I do, it's like I can't achieve that lightness feeling. But I'm hearing it's by design. I think there's, again, that idea of the full moon and the release. And I know, like, I've been listening to a lot of people, not a lot, kind of a lot of people, how they say when we talk about these types of things, like full moons and, the celestial events and how they affect us, like it can become a bit repetitive and like, oh, something's always coming, something's always releasing. And I get that. Like, I've had that myself. And so I've been honestly a little bit hesitant to talk about some of the stuff, because there's a lot of people making testimonies I've seen online about how, this kind of stuff like ruined their life because they were always waiting for something, or always feeling like they need to release something or heal something. And I think it's really important to address this, because I really do get that side of what I'm holding space for and, attempting to co-create community with, because there are these like shadow sides to things. And, you know, they always, when I say they, I hear that saying like this type of path isn't for the faint of heart. And and I'm not saying that came out not great. What I'm trying to say is I feel like it's important to talk about these things, because there's been so many times where I've felt things like that. And I'm not like negating their testimonies by any means. Like, everyone is entitled to feel they feel. And I have questioned myself and doubted myself plenty of times. So I totally get it. So yeah, maybe someone here is going through this as well. And I just wanted to bring it up because I kept getting messages about the idea. I kept seeing 888 everywhere and lions. And, you know, one of the big things people talk about is the Lion's Gate portal. And I understand that, like, I heard like one person who does a lot of like shamanic practices say that, you know, the 888 Lion's Gate portal is demonic and it's filled with all these terrible things. And, you know, when I thought about that, I actually talked about the root word of demon the other day and where that actually came from. I can't remember if I talked about that in my Patreon extended overflow or if it was the YouTube video, but I've been really bringing up etymology lately and looking into the original, when I say original, like I guess like the purest form of the word. You know, I use the example of like whisper down the lane. When, you know, when you start whisper down the lane, you have like a word or a sentence. And but generally speaking, of course, maybe not always, but by the time it gets back, you know, you go around in a circle. It's so distorted. And I feel like that happens a lot with a lot of these terms. So when I do talk about these things, I really, you know, these topics and celestial stuff, and I really do my best to try to ground it back in and look at some of the, I suppose, the most like purified version of things, so that we can like make our own decisions. You know, if you feel demonic energies from these things, then like I want to validate everyone in the way they feel. And, you know, I still feel, what am I trying to say? I still feel like there's these pulses, you know, like these pulses of, and I'm just speaking from my personal experience, you know, like if you don't feel that is completely okay. Where we have these alignments, you know, it's been talked about throughout history and throughout different cultures and traditions of these celestial events that happen when through the sky and the alignment of different fixtures on the planet and points on the earth. And it's just always, once I started tuning into the stuff, like it's like changed my life in so many ways. So anyway, I know it was like a very long sidetrack, but I just feel like I had to say that. And well, I don't have to do anything. I chose to say it. And back to the heliotalic iridescent light streams, I've been noticing for a long time now, by the way, but I this week felt like it was time to maybe talk about it. When I look into light streams, you know, whether it's from a natural light source or an artificial one, I see different light streams that emanate from that light source. So lately I've been really noticing the iridescent heliotalic, again, pastel, like rainbow streams coming in. And I remember, I feel like she's been coming up a lot lately, someone on Instagram who does these like ascension reports, and she always captures on her videos like these light streams coming in from the sun. And I see that all the time, and she just does such a great job of capturing them. So you might be someone who's also experiencing this. And I had this cut on my foot yesterday, I believe it was. I like banged my foot on something and it hurt, or very much so. And I was just breathing through it and kind of laughing at myself, because I don't really do that quite often, at least anymore that I think of. And I was like, it felt very strange. I was like, why did this just happen? Like, it felt like there was a message there. And so I breathe through the pain. I honestly didn't even think to check my foot, like where I hit it. I just like breathed through it and then moved on. And I realized a few hours later that there was dried blood on the back of my heel. And I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, long story short, I was in the sun. I was laying in the sun when that happened, and I was doing a little meditation, and I was just like receiving a lot of ideas. And so you may be having that clarity soon, or like something might be coming in quickly where you feel like really inspired by something, or ideas come in. You know, it could be from many different sources. It could be from a dream, it could be from a meditation, it could be from having a conversation with someone, or reading a book, or passing a sign on the street. You know, however it comes to you is perfect for you. And when I had cut myself, oh, hi.
Hello.
I'm sure you didn't feel it, but I paused. I had, where I'm staying, an unexpected visitor. Well, they weren't visiting me, but the place where I'm staying. So you might have an unexpected someone, I think it's like a person more than a thing, unexpected, like reach out or show up. And speaking of that, I will get back to the Heliotalic iridescent light streams. Oh, okay. I just had to take a second to remember where I was. So I was talking about the cut, and when I went to, sit in the sun, receiving a bunch of ideas. And then when I went inside where I was outside of an elevator with mirrors, and it's pretty dim in there, in that hallway. And I just come in from the sun. So I was seeing like so many light streams, and I was only waiting for the elevator for like a minute or two, but I was guided to do a little scrying. So I looked in the mirror and I saw this like beautiful source of light pop in, and it was like so bright. Like, I'm trying to categorize. Neon doesn't feel like the right word. It's like, I want to say bioluminescent, green and blue, and it just like popped right over my left eye, and it was growing and expanding, and simultaneously it like linked. It felt, how do I describe this? It felt like the back of my heel was being tickled. Like, I feel that all the time. You might feel that too. But it was simultaneously with that light stream expanding. And I've done this so many times, and I feel like that was one of the first times where like there was like a direct correlation. And I looked, and it was the exact spot where I had like cut myself, and my crown, woo, that was a loud motorcycle, but my crown was tingling right now when I just said that. So you may be having an expanded correlation of different like extrasensory perceptions that are starting to like communicate or link more together. It felt like, this may be a stretch, but I'm just going to tell you what I felt, and please feel free to like share or comment if you get anything too. It sort of felt like that light stream was like sending a signal to that area of my body that needed, it. It had been walking around all day with a scab over it because I didn't know I was bleeding there. So yeah, it was a pretty cool experience. And there's something to say about, I'm hearing a bunch of birds all of a sudden. You might hear them too. So you might be receiving like messages and signs from birds. Maybe for a select few of you, you have a bird or work with birds. You could be finding feathers. I think I made a video last week where I was talking about finding feathers. There was like, I don't know, a 4-day stretch where I was finding feathers every day. You know, the message for each one of you may be different, but an overall message from the bird kingdom, the avian lineages. I heard the word protection, but it doesn't feel like the classic, you know, oh, I'm protected. It feels like there's something deeper there, but we'll see if it comes out. Well, I had to pause again, so again, my apologies. I'm not sure where I left off, but a lot of interruptions. So yeah, you might be feeling like pulled in many directions, or like feeling like you can't quite focus on one thing for too long. Like maybe there's a lot of distractions going on. Excuse me. So let's see. I haven't decided if I'm going to do an extended on Patreon or an overflow. I probably will. I wanted to only make this video 20 minutes, and I think it's already at 26. So I'll just do a little bit more. And okay, something that was coming to me the other day, I was just really feeling like this motivation, and all these words that kept coming to me that were like reorganize, revitalize, prioritize, monetize. So yeah, there could be like this newness that comes in, just like a breath of fresh air of like just feeling ready for something. Like maybe, you know, perhaps at some other points you've tried to attempt to, like, I don't know, create a business or start a hobby, whatever it is, and it hasn't quite gotten off the ground. I'm seeing someone like, I don't know, I just heard like, haven't gotten your sea legs. I'm not sure what that means in the moment, but I'm hearing like all of those attempts were building to something. I think it was Einstein, one of those people who said like, you haven't failed every single time that you've tried something. You're just one step closer to succeeding. And like, that seems so silly, but that slight perspective shift is like, yeah, like there's always this like preparation, you know? So it kind of feels like that. And right now it just feels like a clear pathway is either here or opening up for you to like embrace this newness of, yeah. So you just might remember I said in the beginning, like opening up the window and all that dust. So it just feels like, yeah, like even though it's not springtime, like spring cleaning. And I'm seeing something about, again, the cycles of the celestial movement, and something that might have been planted, you know, metaphorically or literally in the springtime, that is starting to take root. And I'm seeing like, you know, by 8/8, like that portal in through Lionsgate, that time frame, then another jumping point to into fall. There will be these like, I'm seeing like, one second, because I can see it, but I don't have the word for it yet. Checkpoints. It's like these checkpoints that come up for review, you know, to like look at whatever it is and see if you need to make any like minor adjustments. But like the energy feels like it's pretty much flowing through, and it feels like very exciting. I just heard till the soil. So yeah, and that till the soil. Yeah, so I'm hearing like that overhaul aspect of like the grunt work has been set. That's very exciting. Oh, and I just wanted to also add in like those cycles. Like for me, when I, you know, feel certain things intuitively or energetically, and then I check what's going on. Like let's say there is a full moon or some sort of like celestial event that people are talking about. I know that it can get a little bit like repetitive or seemingly like fantasy, just all these things. But what I've been really like working on personally is like slowing down my nervous system, simplifying life. Like this is just something that I've been doing, and the more I do that, the more in tune I feel with natural cycles. So it really helps me to like stay in tune with my own inner cycles, so I feel like that's why I'm very passionate about this. And I know that with that, again, that like plutonic shadowy aspects still are in play. And yeah, I just really wanted to bring them up today because I just really feel that so deeply. And I know there's like exposures happening in a lot of our like current societal structures, and I think that includes some of these more like esoteric topics, and like really utilizing discernment. I looked at the meaning. I like to look at the meanings of things, even if it seems simple. Like, oh, sometimes it just really helps me to get to just the actual meaning of discernment. And there's two meanings for discernment that I found, and one of them talks about discernment with like more esoteric and spiritual topics. And I think there's a lot going around about not utilizing judgment, how judging things is wrong. And I totally get that because I'm someone who falls into that category at times. But I've realized that over the years, sharpening my discernment, and like if something doesn't feel right to me, like honoring that, I try my best to hold space for that, even if, I can still like have love for something or hold space for something, but still utilize my discernment that if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right for me at least. And that's okay. Like, and to not have to just accept it just because I'm afraid of judging. There's these like, oh yeah, that's what I wrote down. Subtleties and nuances. There's that like hermetic principle, I believe it is, as within, so without, as above, so below. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's pretty common. If you haven't, you can look it up. There's lots of YouTube and references to that. And when I was sitting in the grass the other day, and I was just kind of like, okay, anything coming up? And it was I was being shown like that statement or that hermetic principle, as above, so below, as within, so without. And then it was almost like boxes, like boxes intersecting, or squares, and very simple. And then I like tuned into the subtleties and the nuances. And like if you talk about the like in string theory, when they talk about M theory, string theory, and like the vibrating strings, and how like the dimensions, allegedly these strings are so close together. They're basically like, well, at least I haven't researched this in a long time, so I could be wrong, and someone can absolutely like comment if they know about this more than I do. But I like to like read up on it every once in a while. And it was just the idea that like, I don't know, there's something about as within, so without, as above, so below. Like, yes, but then there's all of these like unseen realms and strings and moving parts that like, sometimes that feels like an oversimplification to me. And like these subtleties are starting to really show themselves for those of us who are, diving deeper and gaining awareness, and shedding these unhealed filters, and making new decisions, and, trying new things. And I know that like change can be very scary. So there can be, on the flip side of that, a lot of pushback and a lot of wanting to keep things the same and not letting structures fall, like trying to hold up these foundations that are faulty. And so just know that if you're someone who is doing this in your life and you're trying to, make new decisions and create new neural pathways, etc., and you find that these subtleties or these nuances are really being highlighted for you. Ooh, a red helicopter just flew by. Yeah, now I'm seeing like an emergency. Like, oh, it's funny, I wrote down 911. I always send love when I see like any sort of emergency light, like an ambulance, or if it's like an emergency helicopter. I'm not sure if this helicopter was, I caught the tail end of it, but in case anyone's dealing with like some like family medical stuff or emergency situations, yeah, I'm just sending you love, and I hope that things work out and for the highest good of all. And that's something, if you feel, I don't know, this could be very specific for someone, but if you're feeling like a little bit like out of control, like in terms of like, I don't know, like maybe your beliefs around these like types of situations with like medical stuff or emergency, like, you know, illness or sickness, death, like all that stuff. If you feel like your views are very different from people around you, like, you know, just being able to hold that space for yourself and for others, and just, I'm just seeing someone like holding their chest and holding their heart and like knowing their own truth, but maybe not being able to feel seen for it. Just, I don't know. That's just what I'm seeing. So yeah, I get that very much so. And I just want you to know that I see you in some way, at least energetically. And, this isn't really an advice thing. I think it's just like, sometimes I just heard in my head, like sometimes a bee's like that. I forget where that's from, but that's what I heard. I was just asked to take a moment of silence, so I did. I honored that. Maybe someone here is doing that. Yeah, I was recording something last night, and I don't think I'm going to post it, but I kept hearing, be silent, be still. I forget where that's from, but that could be coming up. Okay, mirroring numbers have been coming up. I've been seeing like 40-40, 38-38. I got in a car the other day, and it was the gas mileage thing was 129, 291. I woke up at 7-Eleven the other day, and I heard in my head, wake up call. So yeah, that could be for someone. Yeah, I've just been seeing like a 911, 711. That actually came through in a reading the other day, like 311, 411. Like there's all these like informational, because, you know, like 411 can be information. Like you call 911 when you have an emergency. There's like these numbers that are coming through that, like, I don't know, that seem to be on that wavelength. Yeah, and I'm also seeing something about if you've like made a boundary, let's say, and it feels like you're kind of being tested on that boundary lately. Of course, this is something for you, like I was saying earlier, to put on review. If I know this has come up for me lately, like I set a boundary and I had the opportunity to let that boundary down, and I really started to like doubt myself for a second, and I just was patient. I didn't rush in or impulsively make a decision. I really sat with it until I felt, you know, like I was truly honoring that, and it felt like in my best interest for everyone involved to uphold that boundary that I set. So you could be, you know, going through something like that where it feels like it's like, oh, I've already set this boundary. Like, why is it coming up again? I'm not, you know, here to tell you whether or not to uphold that boundary, but I think it would be helpful to not feel rushed. Like, until you really feel like, I'm hearing it's okay to take your time and to sit with it and really explore that for you. Some of you might not need that time. Some of you might be like, I set that boundary, I still feel that way, and you know what? That's great. Good for you. But if you need that little extra time to just, you know, really feel into it and make sure that that's still relevant, or maybe it needs some minor adjustments, that seems to be like a collective theme, at least if you're attracted to listen to this. That collective, it seems to be like that upholding of boundary review is in play. Oh, I was seeing something about binary stars, so that could be relevant for someone. And oh, another dream I had that feels relevant. I was in the state I'm in now, but in a completely different apartment. In the apartment in the dream, it was like so luxurious, and I had this like state-of-the-art coffee maker that also like produced chlorophyll I don't know, it was so beautiful. It looked like a piece of art. It was all white and it looked very futuristic. And there was a lot of this like blushy pink color, which I have found that I actually really like that color. It was just like very Venusian feeling, you know, that like feminine, but like the coffee piece was very like sleek and minimal and modern, and I just loved it. And it's funny because when I woke up, I was like, what is this showing me? There were other things going on in the dream, but that part of it, I remember reading that rooms in dreams, or, you know, homes, dwelling structures, can represent our subconscious mind. And the place, you know, in my dream, it was like, oh, I woke up, I was like, I'd love to live in that place. It's so beautiful. And right now I've just been kind of more nomadic for the past, I don't know how long, year or two, maybe longer. And, you know, so I've been bouncing around, and I'm like so grateful the way things have just kind of come together for me. It's honestly quite magical. So I'm not like saying I'm not grateful, but what I am saying is that like one day when I have a home again, I hope to live in a place that I feel that just like, about, you know? And so when I sat and interpreted the Symboli, maybe someone's thinking about going to Bali, because I didn't mean to say that, or just came from Bali, or was just researching Bali, something about Bali, the symbology of that dream. I feel like it was showing me like, no matter where I am externally, like internally, that's how I, you know, my subconscious, I've done a lot of overhaul, if you will. And it just felt so like internally, no matter what my external situation is, like I truly, most of the time, like it feels like that. I'm not saying that I don't have my hardships and my days, by any means, but like my foundations, my internal structures feel very, at least compared to how they used to be, like, if you will, in that like Venusian state. And so, yeah, someone here might be thinking about that, like your internal, like you might be feeling like internally you've done a lot and your external reality isn't quite reflecting that, maybe in a lot of ways. That can come through in many layers. So I'm not gonna, maybe in the extended overflow on Patreon, I'll go deeper with that, because there's many, like I said, different layers coming through. But what I do want to say is I asked a question after I had that realization, and I was like, you know, is this what this is trying to show me? And then it was funny because this video popped up on my YouTube feed of someone who I haven't listened to in a long time. And I felt drawn to listen to it. And it said something like, you might feel like you're being tested lately, something about boundaries. And it was like literally everything I was just thinking about. And in it, the reader, she's really great. She said something like, your internal feeling and experience right now is not actually reflective of your external. Like what you're doing is, it could be a lot of things. Like maybe you're being of service at the moment and it's not the most dreamy atmosphere, but you're doing something for the greater good. Like it could be many things that this is showing up as. But it was just like such great confirmation. It was like that day or the next morning or something. And so, yeah, I just wanted to add that because someone here might be experiencing that as well on some level. Or you might be soon. Let's see what else wants to come through. Yeah, so back to those Heliotalic iridescent light streams. I might do like, if someone's interested, please feel free to share or comment. I don't know, maybe some sort of transmission. I mean, that's what this is, but more focused on that. Actually, I may already have one in my playlist now that I think about it on YouTube. So maybe you came from there, or maybe that will draw your attention. But yeah, however you like to receive whatever it is that you connect to. I like to call it the crystalline liquid light. And, you know, these different codes. I mean, it's just been shown to me so many times and confirmed in so many ways. So it feels very real to me, but if that's something that you're playing around with, there are many ways to get started. So if you have any questions, feel free to just like comment or ask. But if you're already like doing this, I do feel like there's this like expansion of, like I said before, like your different extra sensory perceptions are like linking together more. There's like this deeper form of communication. And it's funny because when I first started working with ORMUS Gold, that was my intention. Like I wanted to, when I read about it, it said like it could assist in like essentially body quantum communication, where like all of your systems are communicating on a more, a deeper level. And of course, to receive that, we need to be able to slow down and to develop that awareness and subtleties and really, you know, I see people walking around all the time, and I know because I used to be one of them. Like when you're rushing around all the time, and again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, like to each their own. This is something that just really interested me, and now I just like to share my experiences because I know that people who shared their experiences along the way, it was really helpful for me. So yeah, deepening our connection with our own body, like it's always in communication with us, and what it's showing. And then when you even tune into the deeper layers of, like I said, the extra sensory perceptions, then there's even the next deepening of that. And it really just, I don't know, it's just so cool to me, but it really does continue like unfolding and deepening and transforming, and you know, so it's quite a fun experience. Oh, the number 19 too. I was seeing that everywhere, so that could also be relevant. Any of the numbers that I say, like, please feel free to share any connection you have with it, or if you look up the meaning, you can also feel free to share that, or anything else that has come up for you. Okay, one more thing, and then I'm going to close out, and I'll post the link for the Patreon overflow if you'd like to go deeper. In one of the dreams that I mentioned, it was a past. I don't know what other better way to say this. I said this to my friend earlier because we both had dreams this week of our like past romantic flames, if you will. Neither one of us are really in contact with them anymore. And so that could be a thing right now, like people from your past coming to you, like in your thoughts, in dream time, meditation, maybe for a few of you, like running into them or having them contact you. There's something, I think we might have just gone through a Mercury retrograde. We might still be in one. I'm honestly not sure, but I know that the retrogrades can often like bring back people from the past or things from the past. And I was talking about that too with like core beliefs and behaviors and thought patterns, etc. So yeah, like past people, past feelings, past etc. seems to be in play. So if you're having that come up, or you might be soon, I'm actually seeing again those, like, I'm hearing the word goalpost. So it's like showing you like where you've come and how far you've come, and of course that's up to you, like what you do if these person or persons reach out physically. You know, for some of you it might just be as simple as like sending them love and honoring your connection that you had, and you know it's in the past, and that's okay. For some of you it might be coming up for review. You know, each one of you will be different, but that does feel like a collective thing. The word Venusian keeps coming up, so maybe checking where Venus is transiting in your chart if you're someone who likes to look into astrology, or your natal placement, either one, whatever you feel called to. I'm getting more of the transit though. There's something about your Venus transit right now, and checking your 7th house, the house of like relationships. There might be something there. Oh, and checking if any retrogrades. Anything else? Oh yes, I kept hearing. I keep hearing these songs in my head, like very romantic, like, you know, like love songs, and then I'll hear them in person like that day. It's happened like 2 or 3 times, or I'll hear like the same song on the radio or something or somewhere, and then it will come on again, but not a song that I hear often. One of the songs was Extreme. I think it's Extreme. More Than Words. And then another one was Selena, Dreaming of You. I always send love to Selena. And then when I think of her, and then what was the third one? Wait, it was, I don't know if I wrote it down. Yeah, so any of these songs could be coming up for you, or something like similar to that experience. Oh, and then the song Danny California kept coming up in my head, from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I looked up the meaning of that song, and it was about like essentially like the archetype of his past lovers, that like he was like attracting the same type of woman who like just couldn't quite get out of that like hard life of, you know, like I'm hearing like the fast life. And so I was talking a lot about that, like reviewing our unhealed filters and how far we've come and things, like resurging a little bit. So yeah, it's like the Danny California song was like maybe looking at past cycles of, I'm getting mostly romantic relationships, but it doesn't have to be, or just relationships in general of like different cycles, and then making those decisions and that newness coming in. So whether that's like a renewal in a current relationship of some sort, or again, newness, that there just seems to be a new cycle in, like the 7th house of relationships, emotional fulfillment, etc. Like I really feel that so deeply. And again, I know that we can say, oh, something's always coming, it's not here yet. You know, what we're doing, like this whole idea, when I say we, those of us like tuned into cycle breaking, if you think about it, like these cycles have been, you know, smaller cycles, larger cycles, ancestral patterns, they have been deeply ingrained in our cellular DNA and our structures of, they say like history repeats itself for countless years and centuries. So it's like, yeah, it might feel like something's always coming, but like when from what I've understood about looking into epochs and how cycles work, you know, even planets go through their cycles, and they can go dormant for a very long time, and then they come back into life cycle. So it's like, really, we are speeding up right now and having generations of cycles being looked at. So it can feel like we're waiting forever, but it's also happening really fast if you zoom out and look in the grand scheme of like how many epochs have happened on just our Earth alone, let alone our planets in our solar system. And so, yeah, just to zoom out a bit, like whenever I zoom out like that, it really helps me see like, ooh, I keep hearing like energy shifting in my ears. And I heard a high-pitched frequency last night, actually. My friend sent me a text about sound bowls, and I literally heard my left ear had this like beautiful frequency come through. So someone here could be working with sound healing, or, you know, giving, receiving, practicing something about sound healing. Maybe tones will be good for you right now if you're not already doing that. But yeah, just like zooming out for a moment. It's funny, I saw the word epoch yesterday and I knew there was something there to it, and now I'm seeing it come together. So like the natural life cycles of a planet, right? If it goes dormant, just like a volcano, sometimes it's active, sometimes it's not. So I know it can feel like we're always like waiting for something in some of these communities, but really like I was talking about, when we finally sit with these cycles and see these patterns. You know, it can take time. Like, I feel like a lot of us, not just us, I don't mean us, but like as a society, it's like right now a lot of the focus, you know, speaking of advertising, is all about like everything quickly, a magic pill to just fix things. But like when you really go into the root of things, like if you build a house from scratch and you go and, you know, you add the plumbing and you build the foundation, the electricity, like there's time and preparation, and, you know, you have to get sign-offs and approvals and then go back and do the internal, the decorations, the external. So there's so much that goes into it. And like, I just wanted to reemphasize that if you're still here and listening to this, then yeah, there's like a patience that's developed, and enjoying the journey along the way, like trying that balance of like the cosmic joke, you know, of the actual cosmic joke that people always talk about. I don't know why I said the actual. I didn't mean to say that. So, and you know, taking things obviously seriously to a point of like showing up and persevering, but balancing that with that lightness and enjoying it along the way, and, you know, not getting, I guess, too, or at least like I know I've had these moments too where I had to be like, okay, I need to take a break. I've done a lot and I'm proud, and that's very hard for me to admit or say, and like now it's time to focus on something a little bit lighter for a while. So yeah, it's just like really, and again, no one, if this isn't feel like, if you don't feel called to this, like that's okay. But for those who do and it just need a little, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm like cheerleading a little bit right now, but for those who like really feel called to do this, but there's just seeming like, you know, sometimes it feels really dark, or like there's just never something coming, like it is, I'm hearing encouraged to, you know, make new decisions in your own time. And those of us who can feel like energetically what's going on behind the scenes, even if we don't quite know what it is, it can feel like we can feel a little restless and like really excited, like, you know, something's coming or things are coming. But yeah, it's like really balancing, again, that like taking initiative and making new decisions and changes, even in a microscopic way. It doesn't have to be macro all the time, just these like micro changes that eventually it's like, boom, that's where like that universal flow comes in. And then all of a sudden things are different and you're like, oh, whoa, like sometimes I don't even realize, you know, or like take the time to like zoom out. Wow, I did not expect to say all that, but that's what wanted to come through. Okay, well, thank you so much for listening. I feel like I was ranting so much, so I don't know. I actually just feel like lighter and better like after saying all that. So maybe someone here is like needing to do something like this too. It doesn't have to be in this exact way, but just like really express whatever it is that's going on in some form, whatever way feels good to you. I just got very thirsty, so yeah. Take care of yourself. Enjoy wherever you are, if you can. And please feel free to comment or share or whatever you'd like to do. And yeah, like I said, if I see you in Patreon, then thank you so much for your support either way. And yeah, thank you.